Hey there, and welcome to the 110 ebook exercise 4. This is the second sort of semi-deep dive into MIDI. After this, it's back to regular old audio files, I promise. But this is a really cool chapter because it's all about virtual instruments, and I believe we also go into pre-roll and post-roll, I believe. Yes. Okay. Pre-roll and post-roll and virtual instruments. All super cool things. And definitely pre and post-roll you can use in your audio post sessions for sure. So let's get started. So to get started, we will open the session we worked on in exercise 3. If it's not available, you can just use the same session file we did before. So locate and open 110 exercise 3, your initials session file that I created in the last exercise. Great. If you didn't do that or can't find it, just open up the same waiting here ptxt file that you did for exercise 3. But if you did do a save as, open up that one. Here we go. And again, this is in the 110 exercise media folder, in the folder known as waiting here. And there it is. Okay, there it is. Getting all set up for me. Okay. Using instrument tracks. Oh, we're going to save as. So we are going to call this 110 exercise 4 my initials, or your initials. So save as. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Call this 110, oops, KT. And I'm going to do this in the waiting here folder because that's what I'm using all the audio files from here. Keep it all together. Using instrument tracks. Okay, we'll display the inserts in the end of view window and add virtual instruments. Ooh, exciting. So choose view, edit window, inserts E. So here we go. So right now we have, looks like a couple of, actually a few MIDI tracks, but we want to see what virtual instruments have been added to it, or we probably want to add some to it. But how do we do that? By adding a virtual instrument insert effect. So view, edit window views, inserts A to E. Remember, we could do up to 10, but we're just need to access the first 5 empty slots. As you can see, it looks like several tracks have effects going on. So locate MIDI loops and click on Insert Selector A. For Insert A, choose Multi-Channel Plugin, Instrument, Expand to. Okay, so MIDI loops. Right here. Here's MIDI loops. Here are insert selectors. We've got 5 blank ones. So we'll do the first one. Click on that. And then a pop-up comes up. Multi-channel plugin. So this is a stereo file. If it was a mono file, it would say mono plugin. But this is multi-channel because there's more than one channel. It's stereo. So multi-channel plugin, instrument, expand to. So some of you will have expand to, and you'll click on it, and then you might get a message that says, please locate the expand application file. I know the PC laptops, some of the PC laptops might say that. If you do get that, it should automatically go to the expand folder, and all I got to do is click OK, and you're fine. But if you do need to look for it, if you click on expand to and it asks you to find it, this is what you do. It always takes me a second to find it. It's in the Air Music, applications Air Music Technology expand to folder. So Air Music Technology, expand to, and this right here, expand to.big, that is the expand application. That is the actual plugin application. That is where everything comes from. What else we have? minigrand.big, boom.big. This is where a lot of the actual applications reside of the plugins. But it's the .big that it's looking for. Again, this is only if it's asking you to find it. If not, don't worry about it. The other thing that might be happening is you might not even have expand. You click on expand. Oops, sorry. You click on the selector. You go down to instrument, and expand's not in there. That's fine. The whole purpose of this exercise is to get you to understand how virtual instruments work in general. So if you've got DB33, choose that. If you've got vacuum, choose that. You just need to choose something, because whatever you choose is going to make a sound. But if you have expand, then that's great. So let's do expand. And then the expand menu comes up, and this is where we can choose what instrument we want this to sound like. Let's see what they want us to do. So we want to click on the librarian menu at the top of the plugin window. And then we want to scroll down to number 28, loops, click beats. We're going to have to scroll way down past 140. Wow, okay. There's a lot. There are a lot of options in expand. So we want 28 loops, 05 click beats. Okay. So let's go back here. So here is where it says factory default. That's what you want to click on. It's the librarian menu. Okay. So 28 loops. See that? Look at all of these loops. And we want to go all the way past 142 to click beats. So these are all presets. These are all specific sounds that were made for this plugin. We can have hip hop beats. We can have 1970s disco beats. We can have 1990s grunge beats, whatever. Okay, so we've done that. Let's see what else. Close the plugin window when finished. Okay, great. Now we're going to add a plugin to the MIDI piano track. Find the piano track, click on Insert Selector A, choose Expand to, and then number 13, Acoustic Piano, Natural Piano and Strings. Okay, so let's go back in here, close this window, MIDI piano. It's got these 5 empty inserts. We'll click on one of them, multi-channel plugin, instrument, expand to, let's see, what did it say? It said 13 acoustic piano, natural piano and strings. Okay. Librarian menu. 13 acoustic piano. Natural piano and strings right there. 06 natural piano and strings. Click on that. Boom. As you can see, when we do this, it basically is combining it's basically adding layers of effects. So here it's got 2 layers of effects, something called big legato strings and one called reduced piano. And each one has different parameters. So when you're doing this, you can actually modify the presets. If you make this louder, it'll make this element of the effect louder. And there's different effects knobs. It's fun. You can spend all day just playing with this. This is amazing stuff. Okay. So now press return or enter to return to the stop and play back the session to listen to the instruments. Okay. Get rid of this. All right. So now what we're going to hear is, actually, yeah, I want to put my drums back in here. Remember from the exercise 3? I'm just going to choose that one. And then we added a specific kind of loop and a specific type of piano sound. So hit return to go back to the beginning, Hit the space bar to start it. Let's see how it sounds. Okay, sounds pretty good. So what's happening here is the piano, I'm scrolling through the session, is all the way here at the end. So I'm going to select this little bit right here just so I can hear what it sounds like. Hear that? That's the piano effect. I'm going to show you something they don't show you in the book. If I'm like, that's cool, but I want something different. Click on Expand To. Why don't I make this a reggae piano? Now let's see what that sounds like. Similar because it's acoustic piano, but it has this like kind of trippy wow wow behind it. What if I want it to be something completely different? Even though it says piano, I can make it, let's see here, I can make it a guitar. I can make it a distorted guitar. Because remember, these are just notes. They're little blips that don't have any definition. They don't know what they sound like. They're just little dots on a scale. When they're on the lower end, they have a low pitch. When they're higher end, they have a high pitch. But what they sound like, who knows? Until we add a virtual instrument to it, and that tells it what to sound like. A guitar, a piano, a drum, a beat, a saxophone, whatever. Or, you know, instrument, mini grand. Maybe we just want this to sound like a grand piano. You know what? I like that, so I'm going to keep it there. That's what's so cool about virtual instruments. You can change it to whatever you want. Okay. Again, you can do this all day. Using an aux input. Rather than using instrument track, you can place a virtual instrument on an aux input. In this session, we'll configure an aux input track with a vacuum plugin and trigger it from an existing MIDI track. Okay, I'm going to show you. So what this section is showing you how to do the exact same thing, but in a more complex way, the way it used to be done. So let's create an aux input and add the vacuum plugin, and we'll call it vacuum aux. Okay. So I'm going to go down to below delay because I like to have all my auxes at the bottom. Track, new, stereo, aux track, and what do we call this again? Vacuum aux. There it is, right there. Great. Click on the MIDI beats track to select it. Create a stereo aux input track. I did it. Click Insert Selector A on the aux track and choose Instrument Vacuum. Okay, great. So what is this? MIDI beats track. Where'd you go, MIDI beats? There it is. So one thing you'll notice, this is the difference between a MIDI track and an instrument track. This is an instrument track. How do I know? It's got a MIDI clip and it has inserts for me to add virtual instruments. Here's a MIDI track. How do I know? Because it has MIDI clips but no inserts. That's the difference between a MIDI track and an instrument track. A MIDI track lets you put in MIDI clips, but you can't add any effects to them. You cannot add virtual instruments to them. All you can do is route it to an aux track that has an effect. Remember what we did before, where we would point audio tracks to aux tracks to have effects in those aux tracks added to the audio tracks? Well, this is the same thing. This is the way it used to be done. People would play their keyboards into the computer to a MIDI track, and then they would have to create another track and tell the MIDI track to route or to point to that aux track in order to get the sound that they wanted. Pro Tools, or Avid, said that is convoluted. Let's make something called instrument tracks. That way you can play your piano into the computer, and instead of routing it to an aux track, you could just add an effect to that track to get the sound that you want. So this is the way they used to be done, MIDI tracks going to aux tracks. That's what I'm going to show you now. What I showed you already with instrument tracks, that's the way we do it now. We don't do the MIDI tracks to aux tracks thing anymore. But it's good to know in case you encounter it in the future. And plus, it's just good to know how aux tracks work. So this is selected. Let's go down to the aux track we created, vacuum aux. Click on an insert, instrument, vacuum. Okay. From the librarian menu, choose 1 leads, 12 dirty reso lead. Okay. Librarian menu right here. Leads, number 12. I don't know if you saw, but a bunch of knobs just kind of twisted. This is just like the expand. Like there's hundreds of presets, and each preset does something different with each knob, which creates the sound that you're going to hear. So route MIDI beats to the vacuum aux track. Choose view, edit window views, input output. See, going back to the I/O thing we learned about in chapter 1. Locate MIDI beats track and click on the MIDI output selector. Okay. First, let's get rid of this so we can see what we're doing. View, edit window views, I/O. Cool. Now we've got the I/O panel for each track, so now we can tell tracks to point to other tracks. Locate MIDI beats and click on MIDI output selector. Choose vacuum aux, vacuum 1 from the MIDI output selector to route the track signal to the plugin we put on the track. So we want the MIDI track to go into this aux track so it can grab that effect. So where did that guy go? Here it is, MIDI beats. Here's our input, here's our output. Click on output, and look, we have vacuum aux, vacuum 1. That is the aux track we just created. We click on it. Now, this MIDI track is going out to the vacuum aux track, and from the vacuum aux track, it's going to our built-in output, our speakers. Play back the session to listen to the instrument. Okay, so let's listen to the MIDI beats. In fact, you know what? Let's solo the MIDI beats with the vacuum aux so we can hear it specifically. As soon as we hit these little blips right here, you'll hear it. So there you go. If I change this to, I don't know, let's say robot drone, I've changed the effect in this aux track, but because the MIDI beats are being routed to that track for the effect, it will now sound different. See what I mean? Pretty cool stuff. So that's just another way to do the same thing that an instrument track does. So before exiting Pro Tools, you'll need to turn off the inserts view and IO view in the edit window. So hide the inserts and save the session. Option click on both the inserts and the IO label at the top of the edit window to hide both columns. I never do that. Try that out. Okay, so option click there. Oh, cool. Option click here. Oh, and it hides it. That's the same thing as going up to edit window views and turning these off. And then we save it, take a picture, send it to me. You're done with exercise 4.